Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. The state of New York has come out with a really cool broadband map. It's an address-based broadband map where you can actually drill down to an individual address and see whether somebody has broadband there and what speed they have. So I'll be right back and I'll give you a demo. Thanks for joining me. Rick Usey here with Broadband Deployment News. So this is really kind of cool. So this map looks a lot like you would expect a map to look, I think, once the FCC comes out with their maps. So this is an address level map. So I was going to take you real quickly through a demo of that. So right here you see the announcement. So this is on the New York State website. I won't read a lot of this. I'm just going to show you here. So first of its kind map provides critical steps in guiding state efforts to address broadband availability gaps. Governor Kathy Hochul announced today that the New York State Public Service Commission released a first of its kind interactive broadband map to provide the most detailed depiction of broadband infrastructure in New York to date. The map, along with an accompanying report, is the results of months of field assessments conducted by the Commission in the state's most remote areas, covering more than 80,000 miles. In order to collect accurate data, the Commission collaborated with 60 internet service providers and surveyed tens of thousands of New York consumers. So a lot of states are bringing out maps, and it's not as granular as this. So they're just looking at, maybe census blocks and census groups and what the coverage is there. And if they find that their data, like the state of Georgia, for example, they have a little different parameters on what they consider a served area and an unserved area, a little bit less liberal than, let's say, the FCC. So that's the way they did it. And you can compare the FCC and the Georgia data, but here it's really goes down to the address. This is kind of, again, what I think, the kind of thing that we're going to be seeing from the FCC maps. Prior to the map's creation, New York, like most states, relied in part on federal data that only required broadband providers to deliver service to one address in a census block to designate the entire area served, and that's the issue that we've had. That's why we've got this process of gathering all this data, whether it's served, unserved, and underserved, in a more granular way, which will aid in allocating state and federal funding. So I'm going to show you the map here. So this is actually where you would go get the map. I will link to the article and this site right here, where you can then click to agree on the map and it will show it to you. So today is an interesting day that we're going through this. So the FCC today had a webinar where they went through how service providers will use, and also states as well, but service providers specifically, how they will upload their subscriber data into the broadband data collection system. That is going to overlay where all the homes that they pass and the speeds that they offer on the broadband data fabric. And then in November, the FCC is going to be coming out with the map from that data. At that point, there'll be a challenge process. That will be a challenge process where communities can challenge. And then today, the FCC confirmed that consumers yourselves would be able to challenge as well. So if you see on the map, it says your address is served by a particular provider and you've called them and you can't get the service, or they say they're offering a particular speed and you're not getting that, or you're not able to get that, then you can challenge that as well. So that filing deadline, or I should say the filing window, starts tomorrow on that. So June 30th is the filing opening for service providers to put in that broadband data collection data. I've done a couple of previous broadcasts about that. And then that goes through September 1st, and then the FCC is going to take all of that data that's been laid on top of the fabric, and then again in November, the map comes out. And that map is going to be address by address. So the FCC is already in the fabric through their contractor CostQuest decided where every broadband serviceable location in the United States. So if you've got a piece of property and there's a building on it, does that have broadband, or should that have broadband or not? Not does it, but it really should it. Okay, so if it's a farm in the middle of a field, but it's a house, that should have broadband. If it's a barn, maybe not. So they're trying to identify each of those with a location ID. That needs to be matched up with the service provider data. And then again, they do that, and in November, the first iteration of the maps come out. There'll be a challenge process, and then sometime maybe spring of next year, the FCC will come out and say, okay, this is final. And then the NTIA will be able to know where is served and unserved and underserved. So it would be served, I guess, but really where is underserved and unserved locations. And then they will allocate a percentage of the money to each state depending on how many unserved lake locations they have in their state compared to unserved locations throughout the entire area. should be the United States, territories, Puerto Rico, etc. So anyway, that's coming. But for right now, New York has done something pretty interesting in that, again, they've gone down to the address level. So they've got their map set up here. I'm going to show you what it looks like as we drill in here. So as a couple of things. So down here I can see it's got predominantly what you're showing. So right now nothing's selected, but you've got served, underserved, and unserved. But really, if I look at the legend, I think it was here. Yeah, if I look at the legend, it's saying that this dark blue color is served addresses. Underserved addresses would be this color here. So I'm assuming that would be that. Maybe, I don't know. Because then you've got the yellow here. So I'm not seeing any yellow. So obviously there's lots of unserved areas in here. So I didn't completely understand this. But if I go in here and I say I want to see unserved, then you're going to see it's going to change. Should anyway. Maybe it didn't. Okay. Oh, there it goes. Okay, it took a minute. So now I'm looking at unserved. Let's see if this changed up here. Yeah, so now I've got unserved. And then depending on the color, you can see here it says percent of unserved addresses, standard service, and you've got, looks like greater than 11.5 and less than 0.01. So I guess the worst unserved areas, I assume, are the darker colors. So this is looking at a very high level. And again, you could do the same thing and look at served and underserved. You can also change the map here for a satellite view, for example. Look at it that way. And I can, let's see, up in here, that stays the same. Up here you can look at broadband villages, broadband tribal lands, cities and towns and counties, and when you select that, it's going to change that a little bit. So right now I just selected, actually I turned off, I guess I just turned off counties, so it looks like counties is what was selected. I can also look at cities and towns, turn that on, and that's going to load. You can see a lot of blocks in here, so I can look at that. So I'll leave that there for now. And I'm going to go back. I'm just curious. I'm going to go back to just change this to predominant and see what happens. And I don't know if it's going to change. Yeah, okay, so I went back to that. So it's interesting now. I went back to that predominant. I noticed this when I was looking at it yesterday, that now I do see some orange areas in here in addition to the blue. But I think predominant, I am looking at, I don't know, it just says predominant, served, unserved, and underserved. So now I'm going to drill in. This is where it starts to get interesting. So I'm going to come in here. And by the way, you can, this is really, I'm looking at it, but it's really meant, I guess, for somebody in the state of New York. Hey, what does it look like at my address? Or it could be other people, but you can type an address right here. And I used to live in New York, so I typed in my address, and I was able to see, oh, okay, they have really good broadband where I used to live. But you can type in your address here, and then it will kind of center in on that place, and you'll get some information. But I'm just going to zoom in at this point on the map as I come in here. And again, I am seeing lots of blue. I'm going to change this to unserved. Wait a second here. Now I'm getting that. So that just changes the predominant color. I don't know if I like that. I think I'm going to go back with predominant. See if I get some blue. And I'm going to zoom in further. So as I zoom in here, I'm looking at, again, I got a satellite view, so I've just kind of lost my colors. And I don't see any locations. I saw locations earlier. I'm going to go to a place where I know people live. Zoom out. Why don't we go to Long Island? Come down in here. I'm going to zoom in Long Island. Oh, I'm measuring stuff, not meaning to. Hold on. I'll show you that in a minute. Let's delete that. All right, let's zoom in. I was clicking lots of buttons yesterday and trying to figure out what I'm doing today with that. So as I zoom in here, try to get down to some addresses, still pretty far out. Okay, so now I'm starting to see I'm getting down to some address kind of level stuff. And I still don't see what I was seeing yesterday. Refine location. What that means. Oh, here we go. Okay, it's starting to pop in. So yeah, I was waiting for, it didn't take that long yesterday. I was looking at this. So what I have now is I've got these blue circles. So these are all served locations here. So if I click on one, it's kind of sluggish, but we'll wait for this to show up. This cluster represents 45 addresses, so I got the number 45 there. The predominant value level of service standard within this cluster is served. And I've got served in all these areas. And if I continue to zoom in, these little circles will break out into smaller circles. As you can see here, really we're just going to addresses now. So now I can look at specific addresses, and they're all blue. And I can click on any address, and when I do that, it will tell me where that is. And I can look up here, and I can say show providers, and then over here on the right, it will show me who's providing service here. So I see I've got Optimum is providing coax, a gig by 35. I've got Verizon Fiber, 940 by 880. And then I've got a couple of satellite providers, which are going to show up everywhere. So even in unserved areas, you're going to see these satellite providers showing up. So this, again, this is kind of in the heart of Long Island. No issues with service here. So I'm going to back myself back out. Actually, I'm going to look up an address because this might have been, no, that's just a sample address. So that's what I was just looking at. Okay, that's why that's there. So I'm going to come in here and paste in an address that I was looking at yesterday. See if I still have that in there. I do. Okay, I'm just going to search for that. So hopefully this person won't mind me showing their satellite view of their home. So this is one address that I just saw was in an area that has got some served locations. As I'm looking at this, I think these are all served. Yeah, these folks have got, it says Frontier Fiber, gig by gig. You got Spectrum, a gig by 35. And again, those two satellite operators. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So I've got, this is kind of an interesting area. So I've got a mixture of some served and unserved. So I've got right here, this particular house. If I look at that, that is showing served, and it's showing those same folks, Frontier. Well, actually, that's just got Frontier there. There's also a King Street Wireless that apparently is serving that at 10.2. That's at that particular location. If I look here, was that the one I was just, no, let's see, that's one showing served, same thing, I think. Let's show those providers. Doesn't look like that's changed. Frontier. Now I see a unserved here. These are showing, let's see, this one's yellow. Let's click that. Show providers. Yeah, so that one's showing unserved. So it just says it's got Viasat, HughesNet, and King Street Wireless. So unserved. So this is pretty interesting in this particular area. It's kind of on the cusp. So I got unserved, unserved, unserved all down this road. Then for some reason, like this one is unserved. Let's look at that. So I think there might be, just like anything, there are going to be areas that are probably not correct, I'm thinking. So I'm looking at this house here. Let's look at, say, how come I can't see? Maybe that's not a, it's not letting me, oh, wait a minute, 2. I've got 2. What is that about? Unserved, unserved, show providers. Might be 2 structures there. Okay, so again, they're unserved. But then right next to it, I've got a blue. So let's look at that one. Show providers. Yeah, so that's saying that's got Frontier Fiber. So I think that would be an example maybe of that being incorrect, or maybe this particular household paid Frontier. If this is Frontier and this is Frontier, maybe they paid them to extend their fiber down the road to them, and they paid the freight on that basically, and paid to get that done, because that's one of the issues we have. As we look here, we've kind of on the cusp where you've got lots of served here. You know, lots of these homes are served. Right here, you've got a place out in the woods, maybe, where I show providers there. That one is going to be just the satellites. It does say it's Frontier DSL, so Frontier's got DSL 18 by 1. But if I look at this guy a little closer to the road, they're going to have the fiber, I'm sure. Yeah, Frontier Fiber Plus Spectrum. So right here, this guy, let's zoom in and see what that location looks like. So kind of, it could be a cabin, something like that. But you can see if this is really a structure, I can't get close enough to really see what it is with the satellite view. If there really is a place there, they do not have good internet there. And you can see why, because again, if they had to pay, they might have to pay to get Frontier to come out and lay that fiber that far. And that's what you're seeing in a lot of places is, you know, you'll have a service provider like a big MSO or somebody, somebody like Frontier, and it's like they're providing fiber to the areas they can reach more easily. And then if somebody has got a long driveway like that, then, and they call and they say, hey, can I get internet service? And they say, yeah, we can extend it to your home, but it's going to cost $3,000. Well, part of the reason that we're trying to get broadband funds is to reach these little isolated places, in addition to larger places that are a lot, very unserved. So again, as I look around in this area, as I go further in this direction, zoom out here, you can see all of these homes as I'm coming down this road. Looks like the fiber stopped, and then as I zoom out, I get kind of my bigger circles again. So this is 2 homes that are primarily served, I guess. But then here I've got, when I click on that, that's 2 addresses that are unserved. So as I go further out in some of these areas that are going to be more remote, I'm getting more unserved areas. So you've got these main roads maybe where there's some service here, and then other areas like down this stretch of road, you don't have a service provider. So again, I'm going to zoom in right here and see what I've got. So again, I've got this. Again, this is interesting. I find this interesting that I've got somebody served here and somebody unserved here, somebody served here, somebody unserved here. This is certainly closer to the road, but that's unserved. This served guy is close to the road. This is further away. This is further away. They're served. This guy's unserved, so I don't understand that. But again, there could be a few errors here and there. So I'm assuming that they could, that somebody could challenge this on their map as well. If you see here, there's provide feedback, and somebody right there that's automatically put in the address that I'm on, and you could send them information, and they might say, for example, hey, it shows I got Frontier Fiber, but I don't. So let's see, just curious. So which one? Let's look at this guy. Is that what I was looking at? Show providers. Yeah, see that they're all showing Frontier. So I don't know if it's, again, some people are paying for Frontier to extend the fiber to their residents, and there's a larger fee to do that, and some are not. You would think, maybe that Frontier has it running down the road and that there's just a larger fee. But again, this guy here, he's right there on the road, and yet he is showing that he's just got satellite. Plus, he's got King Street Wireless, so depending on where they are and elevation, those kinds of things, they can get that as well. So a couple other things, let's see on this map. Actually, it looks like once you zoom in, you lose some of the things that you can look at, obviously, because you're zoomed in so far, it doesn't make any sense. So as far as city boundaries, county boundaries, those kinds of things. Again, I've got my little dots here. I got underserved, unserved, and served. So, this color would be underserved here. And you can also, there's a measurement tool on here. I close that. So if you are interested in, how far is it between, how far is it between all of these homes here? What is my distance? I can click this measurement tool, and I can start right here. Say new measurement. There we go. So I can start here, and I can go to there, and I can go down this road. And get a rough approximation of how far this is. So if I want to double click that, double click there to end it. And it's in metric, which I do not want to look at. So if I understand miles better. So that's about 0.67 miles. So that might help you determine, you know, how far it is from one served location to another, to an unserved location, or how far all these unserved locations are. You can hit delete to delete that, and then if you hit that again, it's going to pop back up. So you need to say new measurement, and then you can start that process again. For example, if I want to see how far it is from this home to this one, let's say that's my last served home and my first unserved home, I can do this. Just go down the road if I want to look at it that way, and come to here, and I can see that's approximately 0.17 miles. And I will go ahead, I'll go ahead and delete that. You've also got a polygon. So if you want to draw around an area and see what that is, I can say, okay, what is this area here? Let's see, new measurement. I've got polygon selected, so I can double click, and maybe I want to do that. Maybe I want to do this area here. So I want to do this to here, then all of that. Maybe get this one in there, and those two. Maybe get all of these. Let's see if I do this. If I do that, I should be able to click again, come over here. Yeah. So there's my polygon. So if I want to draw right there. So now I've got my area right here that I can see. 5,000, what is that? Let's go back to miles. Looks like I changed it back to, I can do acres. I guess I'm going to do metric, square feet, square yards, square miles. There we go. All right, so there is 1.19 square miles, 0.19 square miles for that area. So that's what a polygon looks like. So for the broadband maps that the FCC is going to be accepting, service providers can match their CSV data of all their addresses that they pass, all their homes passed, with the CSV data that's in the broadband data fabric. Or if they have mapping software, and they wouldn't use this, they would use mapping software that allows them to do something like this, they can draw polygons around all of the points, all of the locations on the map that they serve. So if they have a list of addresses that they know they serve, they can upload that into a GIS system, which will create a map and points on the map, and then they can go through and they can create a polygon. They just draw around that particular, they can draw around that particular section of homes or businesses. And they would do a polygon for each level of service. So there'd be a polygon if, for anybody that, for example, it maybe gets gig symmetrical. There'd be another polygon in an area where they maybe only offer, 500 by 100. So they can upload these separate polygons. And then they don't need to worry really about matching location IDs. As long as they upload a GIS file that's properly geocoded and they've properly drawn around their service area, and again, a different polygon for each type of service, different polygon if it's fiber versus copper, different polygon if there's different maximum and maximum upload speeds and download speeds, then they can upload those and they don't need to worry about matching all those individual addresses. So I would probably go that route, figure out how to do that if I were a service provider. Some are probably used to doing that. So again, that's another little feature on there, and I can, again, just click delete on that. I think if I go measure again, it's probably not going to pop up again. What happens if I do that? That goes away because I deleted that. But if I want to do another polygon, I come in here and I say new measurement, and then I can just start the process again. Just start drawing like that. So, all right, let me delete that. I think that was it. So again, you've got your layers. You can change the base map, which a lot of these do. If you want it to look like a cartoon, or light gray canvas, terrain with labels, oceans, this kind of chartered territory map that looks like something you'd pull down on the wall on a schoolhouse kind of thing, community map. I usually stick with the standard map here, and I try to go to the satellite because it gives me an idea what the topography looks like. So let's see if there's anything else in here. I think that was it. So again, I think this is again, as I scroll out one more time, down here, this is interesting. So they've got some stats down here. Unserved, underserved, statewide, city, towns. You can look at that. And again, as I scroll out, things change. So I start to get to a point where I get my little circles, and it's telling me a cluster of homes or businesses and whether they're served or unserved predominantly by the color. And then as I drill in further, they're going to expand to the individual. They're going to break out a little bit in some cases, you know, and then they're going to expand eventually to the individual locations like that. So this is interesting, coming kind of a long way from what I've seen from other state broadband maps. I can see where this would really be helpful in New York, because they can, if you know, if they've really done their due diligence on this and they've got it open for some feedback, then they really have a pretty good handle on which locations are served and unserved already. So they can be working with stakeholders in these areas, and they can confirm things. And I think they can kind of get a head start on some things. A lot of states are waiting for the FCC broadband maps. And frankly, they're going to have to wait for the FCC broadband maps because they can't go based on their map. They have to go based on the FCC map. But their map looks, I think, very much like what the FCC map is going to look like in the end, where you can type an address and it's going to tell you this kind of information. It's going to tell you who's serving there, what the max upload and download speed are. It's also going to tell you if they are latency round trip of 100 milliseconds or less. And it will tell you, well, it's telling you here, yeah, like it'll tell you the type of service: satellite, fixed wireless, DSL, fiber, that kind of thing, cable, DOCSIS cable. So it's coming. And again, timeline, look for the first map in November. Everybody will have a chance to challenge that, including consumers, and then probably, like I say, probably spring, before, you know, when all those challenges take place and the FCC says, okay, we're ready to go. That's probably when we're going to see that. And that's when the NTIA will start working with states and on their applications, because they're going to tell them how much money they can, the total amount of money that they're going to get from their state, because they'll know what the unserved and underserved locations are in their state. Thanks for joining me. If this was helpful for you or interesting, go ahead and please click the little like on YouTube, and click the little subscribe button on YouTube, or on the corner, right corner, bottom corner of this video. There's a little button. Just hover over that, click subscribe. Click the little bell if you're interested in getting notifications whenever I'm live. That'll just appear in your mobile device, or it'll on your browser. It'll just say, hey, Broadband Deployment News is live right now, or Quorum's live right now. So thanks again, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.